Now let's talk about smart ways to learn English more effectively.
Yes, studying harder is not always the answer. Sometimes studying smarter is better,
That's very true. Many beginners waste time using difficult methods that make learning stressful,
especially when they try to learn too many things at the same time.
like memorizing hundreds of vocabulary words in one day.
Yes, that usually does not work very well
Why not?
because the brain needs repetition and practice to remember new information.
So learning slowly can actually be more effective.
Exactly. Small daily practice is much better than studying for 10 hours once a month.
Consistency is very important in language learning.
Definitely. Even 15 or 20 minutes every day can create big improvement over time.
What kind of vocabulary should beginners focus on first?
Useful everyday vocabulary, words and phrases people use in normal conversations.
Instead of very rare or advanced words?
Exactly. Beginners do not need difficult academic vocabulary immediately.
Can you give some examples of useful beginner phrases?
Sure, things like, how was your day? Or, what do you mean? Or, can you help me?
Those expressions are useful in real life.
And learners hear them often in movies, podcasts, and conversations.
Another smart learning method is reading simple books.
Yes, reading is one of the best ways to improve naturally.
What kind of books are good for beginners?
Children's books and graded readers are excellent choices
Why are children's books so helpful?
because the language is usually simple, clear, and repetitive.
And the stories are often fun and easy to follow.
Exactly. Learners can enjoy the story while learning new vocabulary naturally.
Did you read children's books when learning English?
Yes, all the time. They helped me build confidence.
Do you remember one of your favorite books?
I loved short adventure stories because they were exciting and easy to understand.
Another smart habit is keeping a vocabulary notebook.
That helped me a lot too.
What did you write in your notebook?
New words, example sentences, and sometimes small expressions I heard in conversations.
Example sentences are very important.
Yes, learning words inside sentences helps you remember how they're used naturally.
Some learners only memorize translations.
But without context, words are easier to forget.
Exactly. Context makes vocabulary stronger.
I also reviewed my notebook regularly.
Repetition again.
Yes, repetition is one of the keys to language learning.
Another powerful method is listening practice.
Definitely. Listening trains your ears to understand real English.
What listening materials are good for beginners?
Podcasts for learners, slow English videos, audiobooks, and simple TV shows.
Should beginners listen only once?
No, repeating the same audio many times is actually very helpful.
Really?
Yes, the first time you understand a little, the second or third time you understand much more.
That makes sense.
Repetition helps your brain notice pronunciation and sentence patterns.
Another smart technique is shadowing.
Shadowing is one of my favorite learning methods.
For viewers who don't know, shadowing means listening and repeating immediately after the speaker.
It improves pronunciation, rhythm, listening, and speaking at the same time.
Did you practice shadowing often?
Almost every day for a while.
Did it help your confidence too?
Very much. Speaking English started to feel more natural after lots of shadowing practice.
Another important thing is setting realistic goals.
Yes, some beginners expect fluency after only a few months.
And then they feel disappointed.
Exactly. Language learning takes time and patience.
What is a good beginner goal?
Small goals like learning 5 new words a day or speaking English for 10 minutes daily.
Small goals feel more manageable.
And achieving small goals create motivation.
Another smart idea is making English part of daily life.
Yes, learning should not happen only during study time.
What do you mean?
Change your phone language to English, watch videos in English, or think in English during the day.
Those little habits create extra practice naturally.
Exactly. English becomes part of your normal routine.
Did music help you learn English?
Definitely. Songs helped me remember pronunciation and vocabulary.
Music also makes learning more fun.
Yes, enjoyment is extremely important.
Why?
Because learners continue practicing longer when they enjoy the process.
That's very true.
Learning English should not feel like punishment.
It should feel interesting and rewarding.
Exactly.
So smart learning is really about consistency, useful practice, and enjoying the process.
Yes, simple daily habits are often more powerful than difficult study methods.
And learners should be patient with themselves.
Definitely. Every small step matters.
There is another problem many English learners face.
Comparing themselves to other people?
Yes, this happens very often, especially online.
Social media can make learners feel discouraged sometimes.
Why do you think that happens?
Because people usually show only their success, not their struggles.
That's very true.
Learners see someone speaking fluent English and think, why am I not that good yet?
But they forget that fluency takes years of practice.
Exactly. Nobody becomes fluent in just a few weeks.
Did you ever compare yourself to other learners?
Oh yes, many times when I was younger.
Really?
Definitely. Sometimes I listened to advanced speakers and felt my English was terrible.
That sounds difficult.
It was discouraging at times.
What changed your mindset?
I realized that every person learns at a different speed.
That's an important lesson.
Some people improve quickly in speaking. Others improve faster in reading or listening.
Everyone has different strengths.
Exactly.
Some learners also have more free time to study.
Or more opportunities to practice with native speakers.
That makes a big difference.
Definitely. Comparing your journey to someone else's journey is not always fair.
Language learning is not a race.
Yes, there is no finish line that everyone reaches at the same time.
I really like that idea.
Learning English is a personal journey.
Sometimes beginners become frustrated because they still make mistakes after many months.
But mistakes are normal at every level.
Even advanced learners make mistakes sometimes.
Of course, nobody speaks perfectly all the time.
Another problem is unrealistic expectations.
Yes, some people expect themselves to sound like native speakers very quickly.
And when that does not happen, they feel disappointed.
Exactly, but becoming comfortable in a language takes patience and consistent practice.
Small progress is still progress.
That's one of the most important things learners should remember.
Sometimes improvement is slow and difficult to notice.
But over time, small improvements become huge changes.
Have you ever looked back and realized how much your English improved?
Yes, and it surprised me.
Really?
One day, I listened to an old recording of myself speaking English.
And what did you notice?
My pronunciation, vocabulary, and confidence had improved so much.
That must have felt amazing.
It really did.
Sometimes learners focus too much on what they still cannot do.
Instead of noticing what they can do now.
Exactly. Celebrating small victories is important.
Very important.
Like understanding a movie scene without subtitles.
Or having a short conversation in English for the first time.
Those moments matter a lot.
They show real progress.
Another mistake is comparing your beginning to someone else's advanced level.
That comparison is very unfair to yourself.
Every fluent speaker was once a beginner too.
Exactly. Every confident English speaker once struggled with grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation.
That's comforting to remember.
Definitely. Nobody starts as an expert.
What advice would you give learners who feel discouraged?
I would tell them to focus on consistency, not perfection.
That's excellent advice.
Even 10 minutes of practice every day can create improvement over time.
And learners should avoid negative self-talk.
Yes, saying, my English is terrible all the time hurts motivation.
Positive thinking can really help confidence.
Exactly. Instead of saying, I'm bad at English, say, I'm still learning.
That small change sounds much healthier.
Because learning is a process, not a test.
Another good idea is tracking your own progress.
Yes, keeping a journal or recording yourself speaking can be very motivating.
Because you can clearly see improvement over time.
Exactly. Sometimes progress is easier to notice when you compare yourself to your past self.
Not to other people.
Right. The best person to compare yourself to is who you were yesterday.
That's a wonderful sentence.
Thank you.
So learners should focus on their own journey and enjoy the process.
Exactly. Slow progress is still real progress,
And confidence grows step by step.
just like language skills do.
We talked about grammar mistakes, pronunciation problems, and fear of speaking.
Yes, so now let's share some advice for beginners learning English.
Great idea. If you could give only one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say practice a little every day.
Consistency again.
Exactly. Small daily practice is more powerful than studying once in a while.
Many beginners think they need several free hours every day.
But even 15 minutes can help if you practice regularly.
What kind of daily practice is useful?
Reading short articles, listening to podcasts, or speaking simple sentences aloud.
Simple habits can create big improvement over time.
Definitely. Language learning is like exercise. Small, regular practice makes you stronger little by little.
My advice would be to stop fearing mistakes.
That is excellent advice.
Many beginners stay silent because they want perfect English.
But perfection is impossible, especially at the beginning.
Communication is more important than perfect grammar.
Exactly. If people understand you, then communication is successful.
Another important thing is patience,
Yes, many learners become frustrated too quickly.
especially when progress feels slow.
But language learning takes time for everyone.
Did you ever feel impatient while learning English?
Oh, yes, sometimes I wanted to improve faster.
What helped you stay motivated?
I focused on small achievements instead of thinking only about fluency.
Can you give an example?
Sure, understanding a short video without subtitles made me feel proud.
Small victories are important.
Very important. They give you confidence to continue learning.
Another good tip is using English in real life whenever possible.
Definitely. English should become part of your daily routine.
What are some easy ways to do that?
Watching videos in English, changing your phone language, or writing a small diary in English.
Thinking in English also helps a lot.
Yes, even simple thoughts like, I'm hungry or I need coffee are useful practice.
Some learners depend too much on translation
That can slow down speaking sometimes.
because the brain spends extra time translating everything.
Exactly. Thinking directly in English helps conversations become more natural.
Another important thing is choosing enjoyable learning materials.
Yes, if learning feels boring, motivation becomes weaker.
What kind of materials did you enjoy most?
Podcasts and simple TV shows. They made learning feel fun instead of stressful.
Enjoyment makes a huge difference.
Definitely. People learn faster when they enjoy the process.
Beginners should also focus on listening more.
Listening is extremely important
Why?
because listening helps you understand pronunciation, sentence structure, and natural expressions.
The more English you hear, the more natural it starts to feel.
Exactly. Listening trains your brain little by little.
Another piece of advice is to avoid studying everything at once.
Yes, some beginners try to master grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and writing all in one day.
That can become overwhelming.
Very overwhelming.
It's better to focus on small goals, step by step.
Exactly. Learning becomes easier when goals feel manageable.
For example, learning 5 useful phrases instead of 50 difficult words.
Or practicing one grammar point until it feels comfortable.
Another important thing is asking questions.
Definitely. Beginners should never feel embarrassed to ask for help.
Questions are part of learning.
Yes, curious learners often improve faster because they actively search for understanding.
Confidence is also important.
Very important. Many learners already know more English than they realize.
Sometimes they just need courage to use it.
Exactly. Confidence grows through practice and experience.
What advice would you give someone who feels stuck?
I would tell them to keep going even if progress feels slow.
Because improvement is still happening in the background.
Yes, sometimes your brain is learning quietly without you noticing immediately.
That's a comforting thought.
Learning a language is a long journey, not a quick race.
Another thing beginners should remember is that everyone learns differently.
Exactly. Some people learn best through reading, others through listening or speaking.
So learners should discover what works best for them.
Yes, there's no single perfect method for everyone.
But consistency, patience, and practice are always important.
Definitely. Those three things make a huge difference over time.
So let's summarize our advice for beginners.
Practice regularly, don't fear mistakes, be patient, and enjoy the learning process.
And most importantly, never give up.
Exactly. Every English speaker started as a beginner once.
Before we finish today, let's review some useful vocabulary from our conversation.
Great idea. Reviewing vocabulary helps people remember new words more easily.
Yes, and we used many helpful words today for English learners.
Let's start with the word mistake.
A mistake is something wrong that you do by accident.
For example, if you say she go to school instead of she goes to school, that is a grammar mistake.
Exactly. Everyone makes mistakes when learning a language.
Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes.
That's true. The important thing is to learn from your mistakes and keep practicing.
Another useful word is pronunciation.
Pronunciation means the way you say words.
For example, many beginners have pronunciation problems with words like thought, world, or vegetable.
Yes, English pronunciation can be difficult because some words are not pronounced the way they are written.
That's why listening practice is very important.
Exactly. Listening helps your brain become familiar with natural English sounds.
The next word is confidence.
Confidence means believing in yourself and feeling sure about your abilities.
Many beginners understand English well, but they don't feel confident when speaking.
Yes, they're afraid of making mistakes or sounding strange.
But confidence grows little by little with practice.
The more you speak English, the more confident you become.
Another great word is practice.
Practice means doing something again and again to improve.
For example, if you practice speaking every day, your English will improve faster.
Even 10 or 15 minutes of daily practice can make a big difference.
Consistency is more important than studying for many hours only one time a week.
Very true. Small daily habits are powerful.
Let's talk about another important word, fluent.
Fluent means being able to speak a language smoothly and easily.
Many learners say, I want to become fluent in English.
But fluency does not mean being perfect.
Exactly. You can be fluent even if you still make small mistakes.
Fluency is about communication, not perfection.
That's a very important point for beginners to understand.
Another useful word is improve.
Improve means to become better.
For example, my pronunciation improved after listening to English podcasts every day.
Or her grammar improved because she practiced writing.
Improvement takes time, but every small step matters.
Yes, learning a language is like climbing a mountain slowly.
One step at a time.
Let's review all the words quickly.
First, mistake. A mistake is something wrong you do by accident.
Second, pronunciation. Pronunciation is the way words are spoken.
Third, confidence. Confidence means believing in yourself.
Fourth, practice. Practice means repeating something to improve.
Fifth, fluent. Fluent means speaking smoothly and naturally.
And finally, improve. Improve means becoming better over time.
Now let's try using all the words together in one example.
Okay, I'll try.
Go ahead.
Even if you make mistakes in pronunciation, daily practice will improve your confidence and help you become more fluent.
That was an excellent sentence.
Thank you. I hope our viewers found it helpful.
I'm sure they did. Vocabulary becomes easier when you hear it in real conversations.
Yes, and the best way to remember new words is to use them again and again.
Reading, listening, writing, and speaking all help build vocabulary naturally.
Little by little, your English becomes stronger.
Exactly. Learning English is a journey, not a race.
And every new word you learn is progress.
Well, Emma, that was a really interesting conversation today.
Yes, I enjoyed it very much. We talked about many common beginner mistakes in English.
And we also shared useful advice to help learners improve more confidently.
Let's quickly review what we discussed today for our viewers.
First, we talked about common grammar mistakes.
Yes, we discussed mistakes with verb tenses, articles, and sentence structure.
Then we talked about pronunciation problems.
We explained how English spelling and pronunciation can sometimes be confusing for beginners.
We also talked about silent letters, word stress, and intonation.
After that, we discussed the fear of speaking English.
Many learners feel nervous because they're afraid of making mistakes.
But mistakes are a natural part of learning.
Exactly. Confidence grows through practice and experience.
Then we talked about smart ways to learn English more effectively.
Like practicing a little every day, listening regularly, and reading simple books.
We also explained why consistency is more important than studying for many hours only once in a while.
Another important topic was comparing yourself to others.
Yes, many learners become discouraged when they compare their progress to advanced speakers.
But every learner improves at a different speed.
Exactly. Language learning is a personal journey.
Then we shared some advice for beginners.
We said learners should be patient, practice regularly, and stop fearing mistakes.
And finally, we reviewed several useful vocabulary words from today's conversation.
Words like confidence, pronunciation, fluent, and improve.
We hope these words will help our viewers feel more comfortable when talking about language learning in English.
Learning English can sometimes feel difficult, but it can also be exciting and rewarding.
Every small step matters.
Even small daily practice can create huge improvement over time.
So if you are a beginner, please don't give up.
Exactly. Every fluent English speaker was once a beginner too.
The important thing is to continue practicing and enjoying the process.
And remember, making mistakes means you're learning.
Very true.
Now it's time for our question of the day.
We always love hearing from our viewers.
Today's question is, what is the biggest difficulty you face while learning English?
Is it grammar, pronunciation, speaking, vocabulary, or something else?
And what helps you improve the most? Maybe listening to music, watching movies, reading books, or practicing conversations.
Please share your answer in the comments below.
You can write a short sentence or even just a few words.
Don't worry about mistakes. Writing comments is excellent English practice.
And reading other people's comments can also help you learn new ideas and vocabulary.
Maybe our viewers can help motivate each other too.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
We really hope this conversation helped you feel more confident about learning English.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel.
And don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss our future conversations.
We have many more interesting English topics coming soon.
Keep practicing, stay positive, and enjoy your English journey.
Thanks again for watching.
Take care, everyone.
See you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.